Somewhere in your house right now, there is a roll of toilet paper. It looks exactly like the one you bought 5 years ago. Same packaging, same word printed across the front, mega. It has about 100 fewer sheets on it. That's not a feeling. In one retail study, tracking the same products from 2019 to 2024, a popular 12-pack of mega rolls went from 429 sheets per roll down to 320. Another one went from 284 to 244. Around 60% of the household paper products they tracked had quietly lost sheets. Nobody announced any of it. Nobody had to. This has a name now: shrinkflation. And the story everyone tells about it is very simple and very satisfying. Companies got greedy. So they started robbing you by the ounce. I want to show you one number that ruins that story. And then I want to show you what's actually happening, because it's stranger than greed. And in a quiet way, it's worse. In 2025, the Government Accountability Office, the audit arm of the U.S. Congress, did the boring version of this question. No anecdotes, retail scanner data, and the official price index across the entire run-up in prices from 2019 to 2024. In that window, consumer prices rose 34.5%. Shrinkflation accounted for less than 1/10 of 1 percentage point of it, not 10% of the increase, not 1%. Roughly 6/100ths of a percentage point out of 34.5. So if you have been carrying around the idea that your bill went up because the box got smaller, I'm sorry. The box did get smaller. That is real. But it is not where your money went. Your money went to ordinary, boring, visible price increases. The number on the tag went up, and it went up a lot. Which raises a much better question. If shrinking the package barely moves the national number at all, why does every company in the country keep doing it? Hold that. If you're the kind of person who wants the mechanism and not the outrage, that's the whole point of this channel. Start with why it feels so much bigger than 6/100ths of a point. Because it is not spread evenly. In the categories the auditors examined, fewer than 5% of items were downsized, but they were not random items. In breakfast cereal, about 1% of the items shrank, and those items were more than 8% of everything sold. They don't shrink the thing nobody buys, they shrink the best seller. So the shrunken product is not 5% of the shelf to you, it's most of your cart. And in the categories where it concentrates, it stops being trivial. Household paper products picked up about 3 percentage points of their own category's inflation from downsizing alone. In paper towels, almost 40% of everything sold came from items that had been cut, and the price per unit went up around 12%. A Senate report found that toilet paper and paper towels got almost 35% more expensive per unit since 2019, and about 1/10 of that increase came purely from packages getting smaller. Coffee was the worst one measured. Per unit, downsizing alone added around 32%. There is also a timing pattern, and it's the tell. Reports of shrinking products were at their lowest in 2020 and 2021. They climbed starting in early 2022, right into the worst of the inflation. This is not a permanent background hum. It's a lever, and it gets pulled when costs are rising. So why pull that lever instead of just raising the price? Because it works, and we can measure exactly how well. Economists ran a decade of scanner data on this. Raise a product's price by 1%, and sales drop by about 1.2%. Cut the size by 1%, and sales drop by about 0.5%. You punish a price increase roughly twice as hard as you punish the same sized cut in quantity. But the number that actually explains everything is the next one. When they looked specifically at products that had been downsized, the measured response to the size change was close to 0. Not small, effectively nothing. Shoppers did not switch. Mostly shoppers did not notice. This isn't a new discovery. Researchers wrote it up back in 2004. People anchor on the price and are close to blind to quantity. It's the same wiring behind money illusion, where we judge a number instead of what it buys. The price is the thing you evaluate. Everything else is a footnote. There's a famous experiment that shows how thin that attention really is. A grocery store put the tax-included price on the shelf tag for about 750 products. Demand fell about 8%. Nothing had gotten more expensive. The cost was always there. It just became visible. Now stand on the other side of that shelf for a second, because this is where it stops being a story about villains. Prices are sticky. Excluding sales, a typical regular price holds for something like 8 to 11 months, and only around 1 in 10 prices changes in a given month. Changing the tag has a real cost of its own. Economists literally call them menu costs, and when researchers sat down with about 200 people whose actual job is setting prices and asked why they don't change them more often, the leading answer wasn't printing and it wasn't software. It was that they did not want to antagonize their customers. That's the entire machine, right there. The sticker price is the number the customer defends. It's the number that gets compared, advertised, remembered, and resented. So when costs go up and something has to give, the pressure flows to the one dimension nobody is guarding. And here's the part that should annoy you the most. It's permanent. In one study of a decade of purchases, the median downsizing cut about 11% of the product and pushed the price per unit up about 9%, and the price per unit stayed up. A price increase can be walked back by a sale next week. A smaller package never comes back. The new normal is just the new role. Let me argue against myself for a minute. If this is really that sneaky, isn't it just fraud? No. And that's the uncomfortable answer. Federal labeling law requires the net weight on that package to be accurate. It does not require anyone to tell you the net weight changed. There is no federal law against making a product smaller. A bill to give regulators power over it was introduced in 2024 and went nowhere. The one defense that actually works is unit pricing. That little number in the corner of the shelf tag. Price per ounce, price per sheet, and it is required by law in 9 states and the District of Columbia. In most of the country, it's a courtesy. France did the obvious thing. Since July of 2024, stores over a certain size have to post a notice for 2 months, whenever a product's quantity drops and its price per unit goes up. That's the whole fix. Tell people. And now the twist under the twist. Shrinkflation is the honest version. The Statistics Agency already catches it. The Bureau of Labor Statistics tracks price per unit, not per package. If a roll goes from 220 sheets to 200 at the same price, they record a 10% price increase. It's already inside the official inflation number. That's exactly why the measured effect is small. It was never hiding. What's much harder to catch is the cousin. In 2021, an economics reporter named it skimpflation. Not less product, worse product. Thinner material, cheaper formula, fewer staff, longer wait, and the thing that used to be included is now an add-on. Quality has to be captured through a technique called hedonic adjustment, which is exactly as difficult as it sounds. That's the one that can slip through. So here's where I land. The package didn't shrink because someone in a boardroom woke up greedier this year than last year. It shrank because of an asymmetry that has been sitting in plain sight the whole time. The price is the number you check. The size is the number you don't. Every incentive in that store points at the tag. So when something has to give, it gives in the dimension you are not auditing. That isn't a conspiracy. It's a system quietly following your attention, which means the fix isn't being angrier at the shelf. It's looking at a different number on it, the small one in the corner, price per ounce, price per sheet, price per 100. It is the only number in that store that cannot be shrunk, because the cheapest way to raise a price is to not raise it.